Do you know what Michael Schumacher did before he went into the world of Formula One? Yes, he started his career in go-karting, he climbed up the junior single-seater ladder, and he made his name in the legendary Mercedes Junior program. Nonetheless, as part of that silver adventure, he caused one of the biggest scandals in DTM history. The year is 1990, we're at Hockenheim, and this is the story of how a young Michael Schumacher ruined the season finale of the 1990 German Touring Car Championship. Well, at least it was ruined in the eyes of... They were one of 3 manufacturers fighting for the crown that year. This is the era of Group A touring cars, so brands like Mercedes, BMW, and Audi were hustling their iconic advertisements all across Germany. As fate would have it, no less than 5 drivers managed to eke out a chance of winning the championship, with Mercedes and BMW supporting 2 candidates each. Nevertheless, with all 3 brands about on par throughout the year, there was one clear-cut favorite for the final weekend of the season. Who better to crown himself king of German touring cars than Johnny Cecotto? Some of you might only know the name because of his son's somewhat infamous Formula racing exploits. Cecotto Sr., on the other end of the sporting spectrum, is arguably one of the most remarkable athletes in racing history. He started out as a 2-wheeled expert, winning the 350cc World Championship in 1975. Aged only 19, Johnny became the then youngest motorbike world champion in history, the first South American to clinch the title, and a certified star of the future. A few broken bones blasted him out of the seat of these frightening beasts and into cockpits like this one. Yes, Cecotto is one of the very few who successfully made the jump from Grand Prix motorbike racing into the illustrious world of Formula One. We'll never know his true potential as further injuries curtailed his monoposto career in 1984. 2 broken legs to be precise. But after continuous hardships left, right, and center, he managed to find a spiritual home in touring car racing. He would make for a perfect DTM champion, charismatic, vicious, sparked by a sense of justice and an unbreakable will to win. Though if he wants to finish the deal, he's going to have to duel with this Audi Quattro one more time. Hans-Joachim Stuck, nicknamed Striezel, really wasn't supposed to be here only a couple of months ago. He'd left touring car racing behind, nothing left to prove in his late 30s, a beloved legend of German motorsport representing Ingolstadt in IMSA. Yet when Audi came calling with an opportunity for the Le Mans winner to return to Deutschland, this time with an all-wheel drive monster, he jumped on it. His Quattro was to be one of a kind for most of the championship, and I'm not just referring to the concept. Where BMW, Mercedes, and even Opel sent a barrage of cars, Stuck was on his own as the only Audi for most of 1990. However, if you want to win a DTM championship, you need backup. So when the circus rocked up to the Hockenheim ring on October 14th, 1990, less than 2 weeks after the official reunification of Germany, there was a plethora of guest drivers from all manufacturers. Take Opel, for instance. To support their bid and finish a disappointing season on a high, they had elected to put Volker Stritzek in an extra car. Not only was the 33-year-old the inaugural DTM champion in 1984, he had become the technical director of Opel's sports program in the meantime. BMW hired a contingent of privateers to fight the last battle of 1990, which meant that 22 Bavarian machines were to start for different teams. Meanwhile, Audi hired a total sum of 2 talented teammates for Striezel's quest. Frank Jelinski is an experienced hand known for his sports car exploits. To be fair, the other side of the contemporary Audi coin would make any endurance ace look like a sidekick. Rallying superstar Walter Röhrl was asked to help his Bavarian friend Hans starting at the Norris Ring. He's been on it ever since, which was a surprise to absolutely nobody. Röhrl isn't just a 2-time rallying world champion. People like Hans-Joachim Stuck believe that if he'd cared enough to give road racing a proper crack in his prime, he could have easily been a Formula 1 world champion. But this last gasp helping out a friend was to be his final race. An au revoir in service of Striezel's championship hopes and dreams. Let's just ignore that he actually returned a year later for another DTM season finale, but So, with BMW bringing in a couple of cars, Opel ready to go, and Audi building a 16-wheeled front line, what kind of people did Mercedes bring into play for the final 2 races? Well, what about Mercedes Juniors Fritz Kreuzpointner, Karl Wendlinger, and Michael Schumacher? 3 supposed stars of the future functioning as hired guns in the fight. Kurt Thiem and Klaus Ludwig might be outside contenders, though you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so why not try and push right up until the very end? Kurt Thiem wasn't too far away from Stuck and Ceccato, so if any Mercedes was to finish a very disappointing season for the brand on top, it might as well be the father of streaming sensation and future DTM race winner, Niki Thiem.
Please, no Pantarino, Demand. Yeah.
Daddy Kurt also happens to be the 1986 DTM champion. That said, if anybody wanted to take the title from Ceccato's grasp, there'd need to be a miracle of some sort. To put it simply, all 4 chasing challengers better hope that Johnny doesn't have a particularly successful Sunday. 18 points sound like a comfortable gap with a maximum of 20 points per race win at hand. TV commentator Rainer Braun explained that there'd be 105 mathematical possibilities as to how the 1990 DTM championship could be decided. Even so, when the grid rolled up for race 1 of the finale, nobody could have guessed what was about to happen. Frank Jelinski starts in pole position next to championship contender Klaus Ludwig. Kurt Thiem in P5 ahead of Stuck in 6th, with Ceccato starting in 9th ahead of Steve Soper in 14th. For the record, Magic Michael Schumacher, future Formula 1 world champion Michael Schumacher, is set in 15th.
So, jetzt wird der Führungswagen ausscheren, Ampel wird auf grün geschaltet und es geht los. Stuck vorn, Tim außen herum mit der Startnummer 6 und erste Kollisionen schon im Hinterfeld. Oh, da hat es schon in der ersten Kurve ordentlich geraucht. Oh, Ceccato, Johnny Ceccato, der Mann mit den 18 Punkten Vorsprung. Meine Güte, was ein Pech. Michael Schumacher ist der andere. Und das ist Frank Pieler. Ja, es gibt Rot, liebe Zuschauer. Ich sehe es von hier oben schon bei Start und Ziel. Abbruch schon nach einer Runde. Neue Chance für Johnny Ceccato. Strecke blockiert. Es kann nicht weitergefahren werden.
Yes, that car, right there, the Mercedes going on an off-road adventure into T1, is that of Michael Schumacher. And yes, the BMW he managed to punt just so happens to be the M3 E30 of championship leader Ceccato. Now, the good news is that even with a junior joker chesting the veteran out of the way, he should be able to continue, seeing as the race was red flagged immediately. The bad news? Because a restart constituted the same Parc Fermé rules as a normal start, preventing any damage repairs to cars such as his own, and Ceccato had to use Christian Danner's vehicle as a backup option, he was told to start right at the back of the grid. A perfect chance for Mercedes and Audi to strike.
Große Hektik natürlich jetzt bei den Vorbereitungen zum Neustart, der in circa 5 Minuten erfolgen soll. Die neue Distanz beträgt nunmehr nur noch 13 Runden. Im Übrigen haben wir gehört, dass sich Hans Stuck bei der Rennleitung bitter beschwert hat über die Attacke in der ersten Runde, die eigentlich ja schon eine abgebrochene war. Und kein Mensch begreift, wie das gegangen ist, dass man bei einer sogenannten Rotflaggenrunde dann noch solche Attacken reitet.
Rainer was referring to this little bump into the Sachs curve. See, just because the race director red flagged the race doesn't mean we can't try our best to snuggle up to the rear end of a Quattro.
Klaus Ludwig, ganz kurz. Gleich geht's los, der Stupser gegen Stuck.
Na gut, ich war innen, er war außen und bumm.
Danke.
Gut, das war sehr aufschlussreich.
Attempt number 2 was to go off without a hitch, as Cecotto started the race from the back.
Ein Opel erstmals in dieser Saison in Führung. Was für eine Überraschung.
Despite Klaus Niedzwit's sensational start, his lead wasn't gonna last for too long.
Ludwig in Führung. Neuer Spitzenreiter. Tim kommt nicht mit bei diesem Tempo ganz vorn.
Stuck gets past his teammate and the Opel to chase Ludwig on his vain attempt to win a championship. Team Soper and Cecotto are wrestling in the midfield, whereas Striezel is about to make his move for P1.
Und Stuck ist vorn. Stuck führt. Riesenstimmung hier im Motodrom. Das wären jetzt 20 Punkte für ihn. Dann würde er aus diesem ersten Lauf mit 2 Punkten Vorsprung hervorgehen auf Cecotto. Und unser Freund Johnny Cecotto, der unglückliche Tabellenführer, fährt im Moment 3 Sekunden langsamer als die Spitze, dass es absehbar, dass dieser erste Lauf abzuhalten ist mit einem Nuller.
Not too surprising that Rainer Braun would predict the outcome of the race correctly. Despite getting closer and closer to the top 10, Cecotto finished the first of 2 rounds in an agonizing 11th place. Maybe his backup car wasn't as good as it should have been. Maybe he'd mentally checked out by this stage. No matter what may or may not have happened within the BMW camp, Audi was to take full advantage with Hans-Joachim Stuck winning the race, taking the lead of the championship. Jelinski and Röhrl complete an Audi 1-2-3 with Thiem and Ludwig in P4 and P5, Soper behind in 6th place.
Johnny Cecotto, das war kein Glück, das war viel Pech. In der ersten Runde ausgeschieden. Ich glaube, Schumacher war schuld.
Yeah, this is not bad luck. They did it on purpose, like they did all the time. It's the third time I have problem with this with that team, with the AMG drivers. They always try to block me, and this is not sport. It's not motor racing. I mean, this is not the way to race. If it's like this, I don't race anymore in Germany. And normally, the international regulation says when there is an accident after the start, you can start with the T car in your grid, in your starting grid position, and not from the pits.
As if that wasn't frustrating enough, 3 BMW drivers finished the race ahead of Cecotto, only adding to his Hockenheim misery. Let's just say I'd understand if he started chugging a can of lager instead. Still, if Cecotto can pull himself together for race 2 and finish ahead of Striezel Stuck, he would be the 1990 DTM champion. Race 2 was to start with the results from race 1 taken as the grid lineup. Stuck in 1st, Cecotto in 11th. Once again, 2 drivers managed to collide into T1 with no championship implications this time. Stuck led the way with Jelinski and Röhrl functioning as his insurance policy. Cecotto immediately climbed his way through the top 10 with Steve Soper chasing the Audi triple ahead, possibly spooking them a little.
Abstand Stuck zu Cecotto 5,1 Sekunden. Die Plätze 1 Stuck, 7. Cecotto.
Röhrl and Jelinski tried to hold up the field so Stuck could escape, yet it seemed as if Striezel wasn't fast enough to do so. The result was an accordion stretching all the way back to Venezuela's favorite son.
Cecotto hier kämpft wirklich um jede 10. Sekunde, sucht seine Chance immer und überall in jeder Runde.
Surprisingly, Johnny's chase for the cup ground to a halt behind Volker Stritzek, a man who hadn't raced in 2 years, racing a car that had been considered a flop for most of the season. Well, that problem's taken care of. Ceccato up into 6th. Only a couple of laps to go. Soper made a mistake into the Motordrome, letting both Team and Ceccato by in the process. And where Opel's Omega Boss had become an annoying nuisance, the same wasn't gonna be true of Team.
Da wird Ceccato außen herum jetzt aktiv. Greift sich Kurt Tim, geht an ihm vorbei, hat jetzt Kontakt zu dem Audi 3er D-Zug. Wenn der das noch packt, also dann ist ein würdiger Meister.
But with every corner, every lap passed, every drift and draft, every second spent chasing the Audi Cerberus, every attempt at taking your beloved box just a little further, it must have dawned on BMW, on Schnitzer, and on Johnny Ceccato, it's over. Hans-Joachim Stuck wins race number 2 and is crowned the German Touring Car Champion of 1990. The gap to Johnny Ceccato? 1.58 seconds. As exciting as the Hockenheim finale was, there'd be a dark cloud above the sunset skies of Baden-Württemberg. Did Michael Schumacher ram into BMW's contender on purpose? If you ask Rainer Braun, Steve Soper, or Hans-Joachim Stuck, the answer is no. None of them believe that Michael would have been capable of being so precise in his maneuver as to take out the favorite. Let's just say that Johnny sees it a bit differently, even as recently as 2014. In the BMW touring car documentary Adrenalin, he stated that he believed Schumacher did it on purpose, and he was still pissed off about it. Now, considering what the Michael was about to do from time to time, can we really blame Johnny? Maybe not. Sure, to proclaim that Michael ruined the DTM finale of 1990 sounds incredibly harsh, and I can't deny that no matter how BMW might have felt, it was a season and a decider to remember. On the other hand, you can ask yourself whether amongst all the scandals DTM was about to encounter over the next 3 decades, they truly needed this to happen. Maybe they'd have had an easier time building their brand as a serious championship without this mess. After all, neither Audi nor BMW would stick around beyond 1992, and it's not as if Michael's maneuver was instrumental in securing Mercedes the championship, as Team didn't clinch the crown that Sunday. In the end, it goes back to an old conclusion of mine. DTM is often known for its bullshit. It's entertaining, it causes debate, discourse, sticks in mind, yet it doesn't paint the sport in the greatest of lights. But, and this might not be an ideal conclusion, at the very least you can tell that Johnny Ceccato cared. Think about it. More than 2 decades after the fact, after Mercedes had apologized, after he'd won numerous championships in Europe, he was still fuming with rage. He cared. And look at the way Hans-Joachim Stuck celebrated his comeback. He made a jump that could have gone horribly wrong. He gambled on the V8 Quattro's qualities, and his loyalty was rewarded. Every one of the 5 men involved gave their heart and soul for a national touring car title. And if there is one positive to take away from all of this, it's that it mattered. Not just to the drivers, not just to the car manufacturers, but to over 70,000 spectators. Unprecedented for a Hockenheim race in October. And as long as those involved fight, bicker, and postulate to demonstrate that they need to win, there's always another momentous finale just waiting to be written, or retold, or ruined.